from the Henry branch. Maybe this was one of the ones that helped organise the first reunion, and right up until when she passed away. Just a picture of her having lunch at a picnic somewhere.
Maybe a reunion.
Well, may have been at a reunion. She, a great pianist, piano teacher.
She was taught by Christina Loader, wasn't she?
Yeah. One of them. Well, this is a photo of Bert Corbett and his wife,
Eileen
Maloney. They turned up at the first reunion. They had had a house fire and all their photos had been burnt. And going through one of the albums, she come across a photo of herself and burst into tears crying. And that's the only photo that she had of their wedding. And took it and got a copy off, enlarged. So she was not that I knew them. My father did, but I didn't. Well, this is a photo of Daphne. I first met Daphne prior to the first reunion. Knocked on her door one day. I'd been to Ballarat with calves and knocked on her door in a little house on Lakeside. The husband was Ian McInnes. He was a head gardener at the Lakeside, and invited me in my working clothes. A real lady, made me a cup of tea, lace tablecloth and the best of china, and me in my working clothes. A real great friend. This is Henrietta and Charlie Wilson. Henrietta was daughter from the second marriage of Eliza and Thomas McGillan. She was one of four. Mary Jane, Henrietta, Catherine and Thomas. Thomas died, he was a stillborn, and Mary Ann died. I don't know if it was Mary Ann or Mary Jane. She died with
epilepsy or something.
Yeah. And they went on to have 17 children. All buried in the Dowling Forest Cemetery, the children. And so's he and his wife. And, well, it's a real Wilson plot. This is a photo of Eliza, Edmund's wife, with the first three children, who was Edward,
John
Edward, Sarah Ann and James Loader. James was my grandfather. It's the only of them. This is a photo of, well, they're all Loaders. We went up to David, and Helen took me up to David and Jean Lewis's place one day looking for photos. And they had an old photo up above the mantelpiece, and David told us who they were, and I said, "What's on the back of them?" And he said, well, he didn't know, but it was time to have a clean, so he took it down and opened it up. This photo was in the back. And it's the first three children of the first marriage of Mary Ann Cameron and Henry. and the first three children of Mary and
Christina.
Christina, the second wife. And there's John Donald, Henry and Annie from the first marriage, and Christina, Florrie and Edmund from the second marriage. A real find.
Mm.
But this is Bertha and Bill Turner's wedding photo, and there's Angus, Bertha, Bill and Jessie Loader in the photo. When Annie died, they had three children, Bertha, James and Harry Dean. And those three children were farmed out to different relatives, and Bertha was brought up by her grandmother. Bill Turner was cowboy at Sutherland's, and Sutherland's and Lotus Farm joined it on Mount Pisgah. So they got to know each other and eventually married, Bill and Bertha. Bill went to war and he got a soldier's block at Menangatang. Bill and Bertha's children, some of them were born in a tent at Menangatang.
And then she went on to live a long time.
Yeah, Bertha went on to live till over 100. Was at her 100th birthday. And that was held at Menangatang. Elizabeth Loader, from Henry Loader, married Jack Fisher. And they lived at Blowhard. In fact, their children went to the Blowhard school, most of them, and they moved to Glenbrae when Glenbrae was opened up in the closest settlement onto a block. And it said that they took their house with them. So they took the house from Blowhard to Glenbrae. Called their house Glenbrae, and later on it became the district of Glenbrae. In fact, they lived next to my grandfather's block at Glenbrae. We went, and there was a planting of some trees on the site of the school at Glenbrae in 2008, and both families still owned the land side by side at Glenbrae. Son of Bessie, known as Jack to me, is the only photo that I can remember him as. And we back in the 1950s, I suppose, I was carting some wheat and come across Jack stopped on the side of the road, not far from his property. He'd run out of petrol in the car. I had a man with me, and all Jack had was an oil can full of petrol. He used to squat it in the carburetor to get his car going. And this particular day, the man sat on the mudguard of the car and squirted a bit in the carburetor, and Jack got the car going, and away he went in first gear, roaring. And him sitting on the side, squirting the petrol into the carburetor too fast, he squirting it in, and it'd slow right down till nearly stopped, and he'd squirt a bit more in. Anyhow, eventually Jack got home. First gear, flat out roaring in the car. He lived side by side at Blowhard, and when they went to Glenbrae, they were side by side neighbours. My grandfather, James Loader, used to have a property down in front of the Fisher property, and he took the cows down one morning and shut the gate. He had a heart turn, and it was Jack that found him dead. Bessie was quite small when she was born. In fact, she was that small she was, I think, regarded as a premature baby, and to keep her warm, they put her in a shoe box full of cotton wool and sat her on the side of the stove to keep her warm. Anyhow, she grew